The Velron homeworld burned. Ambassador Tirek watched the screens in horror as his planet died below him. Cities that had stood for 10,000 years now disappeared under Krenth bombardment. The insectoid diplomat's 6 legs trembled as another flash of light marked the death of millions. Tirek had traveled to the Galactic Council station 3 days ago. He came to discuss trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Now he watched his civilization collapse in real time. The Krenth Dominion had struck without warning. Their warships appeared in Velron space like a plague of locusts. Where the Velron built gardens and art galleries, the Krenth brought only fire and death. The ambassador sent the distress signal immediately. Every protocol required it. Every treaty promised aid. He waited for the response. Hours passed. Then the replies came. Each one felt like another bomb falling on his world. The Thorian Federation expressed deep concern. They would send thoughts and prayers. The Mexan Collective called for an emergency debate. It would take 6 weeks to schedule. The Renthian Empire offered to buy Velron art pieces before they were destroyed. Preserve culture, they said. Not people. Just things. Tirek entered the council chamber with hope dying in his multiple hearts. 200 species gathered in the massive crystalline hall. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in their designated spaces. The air recyclers hummed. Life support systems kept everyone comfortable. Everything worked perfectly. Everything except courage. He spoke to them all. His voice broke as he showed images of burning cities. Children running from collapsing buildings. Hospitals targeted deliberately. Food distribution centers destroyed systematically. The Krenth did not want to conquer. They wanted to erase. Every image made that clearer. Speaker Malith listened from the central platform. The ancient crystalline being had led the council for 3 centuries. Its body reflected light in patterns that showed careful thought. Tirek hoped that ancient wisdom meant action. He was wrong. The debate began. Species after species stood to speak. They all said the same things in different ways. This tragedy was unfortunate. Military intervention was complicated. The costs were too high. The strategic value was too low. Perhaps diplomacy could still work. Perhaps sanctions would help. Perhaps the Krenth could be reasoned with. No one mentioned that the Krenth had conquered 47 systems. No one talked about the billions already dead under their rule. No one wanted to admit the truth. The galaxy was afraid. The Krenth were strong. Fighting them meant risk. Watching them kill was safer. Dr. Hyunbei sat in the human delegation section. She listened to the excuses and felt sick. The Korean scientist had spent 20 years studying alien cultures. She loved these people. She respected their achievements. But today she saw them clearly. They were cowards. All of them. Hyun pulled out her communication device. The message to Earth was simple and direct. The Velron were dying. The Council would do nothing. Someone needed to act. She knew what would happen next. The United Earth government would debate. Committees would form. Risk assessments would be written. By the time they decided, the Velron would be extinct. But Earth had one advantage the other species did not. They had Admiral Jiho Park. The Admiral sat in his office on Luna Base when the message arrived. The moon's surface stretched outside his window. Gray dust and black sky. The view never changed. It reminded him why humans built bases in such places. They did not need perfect worlds. They made homes wherever necessary. Jiho read the report 3 times. Each time his jaw tightened. His gray hair and weathered face showed his years. 52 years of life. 30 years of military service. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion. He commanded forces during First Contact. He knew war. He knew its cost. He also knew when war was necessary. The Admiral activated his command network. Authorization codes were verified. Emergency powers were invoked. Within hours, orders went out across the solar system. The first expeditionary force was mobilizing. 50 warships, 10,000 Marines, supply vessels, medical frigates, everything humanity could spare. Captain Mina Cho received her orders aboard the EDS Indomitable. The massive battleship floated in orbit above Mars. At 38 years old, Mina was the youngest capital ship commander in the fleet. Some called her too aggressive. Others called her brilliant. Everyone called her Iron Sparrow. The nickname fit. Small but fierce, fast but deadly. She read the deployment orders and smiled. Finally. Action instead of politics. Battle instead of debate. The Velron needed help. Humanity would provide it. She activated ship-wide communications. Her voice echoed through every corridor. Every crew member heard the same message. They were going to war. Not for territory. Not for resources. Not for politics. They were going because someone called for help. That was enough. Colonel Daehyun Kim assembled his Marines in the training bay. The 44-year-old officer walked on cybernetic legs. He lost the original ones 5 years ago. A bomb took them during a boarding action. The replacements worked better anyway, stronger, faster, never got tired. The Marines stood at attention. 5,000 of the best soldiers humanity produced. They wore powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. Each one carried enough firepower to level a building. Together they could conquer cities. Daehyun looked at them with pride and pain. Some would not come home. That truth never changed. He would make sure they died for something that mattered. Lieutenant Sora Kang worked in the engine room of the Indomitable. The 29-year-old engineer checked every system personally. Fusion reactors, shield generators, weapons arrays, life support. Everything needed to be perfect. The crew trusted her to keep them alive. She would not fail them. Sora knew the ship better than anyone. She practically lived in the engineering spaces. Other officers socialized. She calibrated plasma conduits. They dated. She optimized power distribution. Some called her obsessive. She called it thorough. When people depended on your work, thorough was the only option. The fleet assembled over 3 days. Ships arrived from Earth orbit, from Mars stations, from the asteroid belt, from Jupiter's moons. Humanity scattered across the solar system but came together when needed. Always. That was the rule. No human fought alone. No call for help went unanswered. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, holographic displays showed every ship in the fleet. 50 vessels ready for battle. 10,000 souls ready to risk everything. For strangers. For aliens they had never met. Because it was right. Dr. Hyun Bae stood beside him. She had returned from the council station to join the fleet. The scientist argued with the admiral for an hour. This would start a war. This would isolate humanity. This would make enemies. Park listened patiently. Then he gave his response. Let them debate. Let them calculate. Let them worry about politics. People were dying now. Children were burning now. Cities were falling now. Later could wait. Now demanded action. Hyun had no counter-argument. She knew he was right. Sometimes being right was not complicated. Sometimes it was simple. Help people who need help. Fight those who hurt the innocent. Stand up when others sit down. These were not complex ideas. Children understood them. The galaxy had forgotten them. The fleet entered hyperspace on schedule. Engines that bent reality carried them across light years. The journey would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks of preparation. 3 weeks of training. 3 weeks of hoping they would not arrive too late. Back on Pax Station, Ambassador Tirek sat alone in his quarters. More reports came from home. The Krenth controlled 6 Velron worlds now. Executions had begun. Prisoners lined up and shot, broadcast across communication networks as warnings. The message was clear. Surrender or die. There were no other options. The Galactic Council issued a statement. They condemned the violence. They called for restraint. They suggested negotiations. Empty words. Meaningless sounds. The Krenth laughed at them. Why would warriors respect cowards? Why would conquerors fear words? High Commander Vrask read the council statement in his command ship. The reptilian warrior found it amusing. 300 species in the galaxy. All of them afraid. All of them weak. His forces would take the Velron worlds. Then they would take more. Conquest was simple when no one fought back. An intelligence officer brought new information. Human ships were approaching. Deathworlder vessels from Earth. 50 warships on an intercept course. Vrask dismissed the report. Deathworlders were legends. Stories to scare young soldiers. Earth barely had a fleet. They certainly would not risk it for insects they did not know. The High Commander assigned a patrol group to investigate anyway. 30 ships, more than enough to handle whatever the humans sent. If they even showed up, probably they would turn back. Probably they would realize the mistake. Probably they were not stupid enough to fight. Vrask was wrong. The humans were coming, and they were very, very angry. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly where Captain Mina Cho planned, right into hell. 30 Krenth warships waited at the edge of Velron space. Their weapons were already charging. Their shields were already active. They expected the humans to negotiate or retreat. They were wrong about both. Mina did not waste time on talk. The Indomitable's main guns fired while the ship still stabilized from hyperspace exit. Plasma bolts crossed the distance in seconds. The first Krenth ship never raised shields. It simply exploded, metal and atmosphere scattered into space. The other Krenth vessels finally understood. The humans came to fight. The battle became chaos immediately. Human ships moved like nothing the Krenth had seen before. They accelerated at speeds that should tear hulls apart. They turned at angles that should kill crews. They fought with a fury that seemed impossible to sustain. Every captain knew their role. Every gunner hit their targets. Every pilot pushed their ship beyond normal limits. Lieutenant Sora Kang worked in the engine room while weapons fire shook the ship. Alarms screamed. Systems overheated. Power consumption reached dangerous levels. She rerouted energy from life support to weapons, redirected cooling from crew quarters to shield generators, made the ship a weapon first and a home second. The crew could breathe later. Right now they needed to survive. The Indomitable charged straight through the Krenth formation. Shields flared as enemy weapons hit. Hull plates glowed red from heat. But the ship kept moving, kept firing, kept pushing forward. Behind it, 4 Krenth warships burned. Ahead, 6 more turned to engage. Mina smiled. Good, they were angry now. Angry enemies made mistakes. Admiral Jiho Park watched from his command post on the heavy cruiser Defiant. Tactical displays showed the battle unfolding. Every human ship engaged. Every Krenth ship responded. The enemy had numbers. 30 against 50 should favor humans. But these were not equal ships. Krenth vessels were larger, better armed, more heavily armored. On paper, they should win. Paper meant nothing in real combat. The humans had advantages the Krenth did not expect. They had trained together for decades. They trusted each other completely. They communicated perfectly. And they had something else, something the galaxy had forgotten. They were willing to die for each other. A Krenth battleship targeted the human destroyer Swift. The smaller ship could not survive concentrated fire from something that large. Its shields would fail in seconds. Its armor would melt in minutes. But the destroyer did not have to survive alone. 3 human frigates moved to intercept. They positioned themselves between the destroyer and the battleship. Took the hits meant for their friend. Their shields collapsed. Their hulls cracked. But the destroyer survived. The battleship kept firing. It targeted the frigates now. Easy kills. Damaged ships vulnerable. The Krenth commander probably felt satisfied. 3 enemy vessels about to die. Except he forgot about the destroyer. The Swift had turned around. Its engines burning at maximum. Its weapons charging. It fired every missile it carried directly into the battleship's exposed engine section. The massive Krenth vessel lost power, lost attitude control, lost ability to fight. It drifted helplessly while human ships moved to new targets. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, all 30 Krenth ships were destroyed or disabled. The human fleet had taken damage. 2 destroyers needed extensive repairs. 5 frigates had shield failures. 1 cruiser lost its main guns, but no human ship was destroyed. Not one. Every crew survived. Every vessel could still fight. 1 Krenth ship managed to escape. Its captain recorded everything. The footage showed human ships moving impossibly fast, firing impossibly accurately, coordinating impossibly well. The recording traveled to High Commander Vrask within hours. He watched it 3 times. Each viewing made his blood colder. The Deathworlder legends were real. Earth produced warriors like no other world. They survived gravity that would crush most species, breathed air that would poison others, endured temperatures that would kill anything else. And they brought all that strength into space, into war. Into his war, Vrask called his senior commanders together. They needed new strategies, new tactics. The humans were not like other species. They did not fight cautiously. They did not value individual survival over group success. They fought like pack predators, each one willing to die so others could win. This was dangerous. This was terrifying. This was completely alien to Krenth thinking. On Pack Station, Council Speaker Malith received the same footage. The ancient crystalline being studied it carefully, watched human ships perform maneuvers that should be impossible, saw coordination that required absolute trust, witnessed sacrifice that made no logical sense, and understood. The galaxy had misjudged humanity completely. These Deathworlders were not monsters. They were something more frightening. They were warriors who cared, soldiers who valued others above themselves, fighters who would risk everything for strangers. This made them unpredictable, unstoppable, and absolutely terrifying to any enemy. Admiral Park did not celebrate the victory. He studied damage reports instead, reviewed casualty lists, checked supplies. The battle proved humans could fight Krenth vessels. Good, but one battle did not win wars. The Krenth still occupied Velron worlds, still threatened billions of civilians. The real work was just beginning. He ordered immediate advance to Velron Prime. The homeworld was under siege. Cities burned. Civilians died. Every hour of delay meant more deaths. The fleet moved to hyperspace immediately. No rest, no repairs beyond critical systems. Speed mattered more than perfection. The Velron needed help now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. They arrived at Velron Prime 6 hours later. The planet looked like a wound against space. Orbital stations burned. Defense satellites drifted as debris. Krenth ships bombarded the surface in systematic patterns. Military targets first, then infrastructure, then civilian centers. The message was clear. Surrender or everyone dies. Colonel Daehyun Kim stood in the drop bay with his Marines, 5,000 soldiers in powered armor. Each one carried weapons designed to fight in any environment: vacuum, toxic atmosphere, high gravity, low gravity, extreme heat, extreme cold. They trained for everything. Now they would use that training. The drop pods launched from every human ship. Small armored capsules fell toward the planet. Krenth point defense systems targeted them, shot them down by dozens. But hundreds more kept coming. The pods that survived re-entry burned through the atmosphere like meteors. They hit the ground hard enough to create craters. Hatches blew open. Marines emerged already firing. Daehyun led his battalion into the capital city. Krenth forces occupied it for 2 weeks. They built fortifications, established kill zones, positioned artillery, made it a death trap perfect. The Marines loved death traps. They made targets predictable. The colonel's cybernetic legs carried him faster than any natural limbs. His armor added more speed, more strength. He moved like a machine but fought like something wild. His unit followed. They cleared buildings methodically, rescued civilians carefully, killed enemies efficiently. Each Marine knew their role. Each one executed perfectly. In one district, Krenth soldiers held a hospital. They used patients as shields, threatened to kill everyone if Marines attacked. A human commander might have hesitated, worried about collateral damage, considered negotiations. Daehyun did not hesitate. He analyzed the building structure, identified weak points, assigned targets, then gave one order: breach and clear. The Marines hit the hospital from 6 directions simultaneously. Through walls, through floors, through the roof. Shaped charges created entry points exactly where needed. Marines flowed through like water. They shot Krenth soldiers with precision, avoided civilians perfectly, cleared the entire building in 4 minutes. Not one patient died. Every enemy did. Ambassador Tirek watched from a human medical ship in orbit. Dr. Hyun Bae insisted he come. See what humans actually do. Watch them in action. The Velron diplomat expected brutality, expected violence, expected Deathworlders being Deathworlders. What he saw instead broke his understanding completely. A Marine named Private Yoon worked in the medical district. She was a combat medic, supposed to treat wounded soldiers. Instead, she treated everyone. Velron civilians with burns, with broken limbs, with radiation poisoning. Gun worked for 36 hours straight, used human medicine adapted for alien biology, made decisions that saved hundreds of lives. Tirek watched her carry a Velron child from a collapsed building. The structure was unstable. Could fall any second. On went in anyway, found a girl trapped under rubble, pulled her free, carried her to safety, then went back for others. Again and again, until the building finally collapsed. She barely escaped the last time. Laughed about it afterward. Just doing her job, she said. In another part of the city, an explosion caught a Marine squad by surprise. Artillery round hit their position. 3 Marines died instantly. One named Corporal Hana survived but was trapped. Krenth forces moved to capture her. Her squad came back, charged through enemy fire, lost 2 more soldiers, recovered Hana's body, then fought their way out. They could have retreated, could have survived, They chose to bring their friend home instead. HFY was saved, but 6 other worlds still burned. High Commander Vrask pulled his forces back, consolidated them, made his position stronger. He learned from the first battles. Humans were dangerous in direct combat. Fine, he would not give them direct combat. He would make them fight on his terms, in places he chose. With advantages he controlled. Admiral Jiho Park studied the tactical situation from the Indomitable's war room. The holographic display showed every occupied Velron world. Krenth forces fortified each one. Millions of civilians were held hostage on every planet. Attack any world and the Krenth would execute prisoners. Attack all worlds simultaneously and the human fleet would be spread too thin. The enemy created a perfect trap. Captain Mina Cho had a different perspective. She studied the same data and saw different answers. The Krenth made themselves predictable. They consolidated. That meant supply lines, meant logistics networks, meant dependencies. Attack the supplies and the fortifications became prisons. The enemy would starve in their own strong points. Park listened to her plan and smiled. This was why Mina commanded the Indomitable. She thought like a predator. Did not attack where enemy was strongest. Attacked where enemy had no choice but to respond. Made them react instead of act. Turned their strategy against them. It was perfect. It was dangerous. It was completely insane. They would do it immediately. The operation launched 48 hours later. Captain Cho led 15 ships deep into Krenth supply routes. The Remos Nebula hid their approach. Radiation from dying stars made sensors useless. Most species avoided it, considered it too dangerous for navigation. Humans calculated paths through the interference. Used the danger as cover. Turned the nebula into a weapon. They hit the first supply depot without warning. Micro jumped directly from the nebula into firing position. The Krenth guards had seconds to react. Not enough. Human weapons destroyed fuel storage, ammunition reserves, food stocks, repair facilities, everything that kept an army functioning. Then the human ships disappeared back into the nebula before reinforcements arrived. Lieutenant Sora Kang made the impossible jumps possible. She calculated entry and exit points through areas of space that should rip ships apart, calibrated shields to handle specific radiation frequencies, timed engine burns to exact microseconds. Other engineers said it could not be done. She did it anyway. Because the crew needed her to. Because the mission required it. Because someone had to. The raids continued for 3 days. Human ships hit supply depot after supply depot. Destroyed Krenth logistics one target at a time. Used speed instead of strength. Surprise instead of force. Intelligence instead of numbers. Every advantage that mobility provided. Every trick that small ships could perform. The Krenth had more vessels, more weapons, more armor. The humans had better ideas. High Commander Vrask watched his supply network collapse. Fuel shortages forced ships to dock. Food shortages required rationing. Ammunition shortages meant fewer bombardments. His perfect defensive strategy needed supplies to work. The humans strangled those supplies, made his fortifications into traps for his own forces. He pulled troops from occupied worlds to protect supply lines. Exactly what the humans wanted. While Mina raided supply lines, Colonel Daehyun Kim prepared a different operation. The Krenth battlecruiser Devastator orbited above one of the occupied Velron colonies. It coordinated all enemy forces in that system. Destroying it would cripple Krenth command structure, but the ship was too well defended for conventional attack. Naval bombardment would fail. So would missile strikes. Kim proposed something different. Something crazy. A boarding action. Admiral Park approved the plan immediately. Crazy worked. Predictable got people killed. The Marines launched from stealth shuttles. Small craft that avoided detection by running completely cold. No power, no heat, no emissions. Just momentum carrying them toward the target. The Marines sat in darkness. In silence. In near-freezing temperatures that would kill most species. They waited patiently for impact. The shuttles hit the Devastator's hull like bullets. Shaped charges blew through armor. Marines poured into the breach. The Krenth crew expected many things. A boarding party was not one of them. They scrambled to respond. Set up defensive positions. Activated security systems. Sent distress signals. Everything by the book. Everything too slow. Human Marines moved through the ship like a plague. They fought in vacuum when life support failed. Breathed recycled air from their suits when atmosphere vented. Operated in crushing gravity when the ship maneuvered. functioned in zero gravity when power died. Every environmental condition that should stop infantry just made humans adjust tactics. Daehyun led from the front. His cybernetic legs never tired. His armor absorbed damage that would kill unprotected soldiers. He cleared corridors with precise fire, directed his Marines with calm efficiency, made decisions in milliseconds that saved lives, lost soldiers despite best efforts, remembered every name, every face, every sacrifice. The cost of command never got easier. The Marines reached the bridge after 40 minutes of fighting. The Krenth captain prepared for execution, expected death, expected the Death Worlders to kill everyone. Instead, Daehyun offered terms: surrender and live, receive fair treatment, medical care, food, safety. The captain could not understand. His ship lost, his crew defeated. Why offer mercy to enemies? Daehyun's answer was simple: because we can, because it is right, because that is what humans do. The Devastator became the first Krenth capital ship ever captured intact. Its computer systems held intelligence on every Krenth position, every supply route, every defensive plan, more valuable than destroying the ship, more useful than killing the crew. The information would save lives, would end the war faster, would mean fewer deaths on both sides. Dr. Hyun-bae proposed psychological operations alongside military actions. She understood something important. The Krenth were warriors, respected strength, feared nothing, but they understood honor, valued fair treatment, expected certain behaviors from enemies. Humans could use that, could show the Krenth something unexpected, could make them question their own leadership. The human fleet began broadcasting on all Krenth frequencies. Simple messages: surrender and receive proper treatment, medical care for wounded, food for hungry, safety for prisoners. Footage showed captured Krenth soldiers in human custody, eating hot meals, receiving medical attention, playing games during free time, being treated like people. Not enemies, not monsters, just people. The broadcast spread through Krenth communication networks. Soldiers talked, shared footage, questioned orders. Some units refused to fight. Others fought harder. Insulted by mercy they did not request. Offended by kindness they did not want. The Krenth military fractured. Some wanted honorable defeat. Others wanted victory or death. Internal conflict became another weapon. Captain Ronak watched these broadcasts from his mercenary ship. The four-armed Hespen commander contracted with the Krenth for good money. His company fought in dozens of wars, won most of them, killed thousands, never thought much about it. War was business. Victory was profit. Death was inevitable. Simple equations. Clear answers. Then he encountered human forces in direct combat. His unit ambushed a human supply convoy. Should have been easy. Cargo ships with light escorts. Quick raid, fast profit. Instead, it became a nightmare. The human escorts fought with coordination his veterans could not match. Defended the cargo ships like they were family. Took wounds meant for others. Died to protect supplies. After the battle, Ronak recovered a human combat recorder. He watched the footage. Saw human soldiers during quiet moments, singing together, sharing food, telling stories, laughing at jokes, being friends, being family. His mercenaries never did that. They worked together, fought together, but never trusted completely, never cared deeply, never became something more than hired weapons. The humans had something his company lost decades ago: purpose beyond profit, loyalty beyond contracts, bonds beyond convenience. They fought for each other because they chose to, because they wanted to, because they were actually a team, a real team, not just soldiers who happened to work together. Ronak began questioning his contract. The Krenth paid well, but they also executed prisoners, tortured civilians, destroyed cultures, made enemies of everyone. The humans offered less money probably, but they offered something else, something he forgot existed: the chance to fight for a reason. To be part of something that mattered, to make a difference instead of just making credits. High Commander Vrask suffered losses on every front. Supply lines cut, command ships captured, mercenaries wavering, soldiers questioning. The human fleet was smaller, weaker on paper, but they fought smarter, coordinated better, adapted faster, made every advantage count, turned every Krenth strength into a weakness. It was brilliant. It was infuriating. It was working. The High Commander planned one final trap. His flagship had massive firepower, heavy armor, strong shields. He would engage the human fleet personally, lure them into direct combat, make them fight his way, on his terms. With his advantages, it would work. It had to work. His reputation demanded victory. His honor required triumph. His pride needed vindication. The battle footage reached every corner of the galaxy. 200 species watched human ships fight impossible battles, saw human soldiers perform impossible actions, witnessed human compassion alongside human violence. The reactions varied wildly. Some species were terrified. Others were fascinated. All of them were forced to reconsider everything they thought about Earth. Council Speaker Maleth convened emergency session at Pack Station. The crystalline being's body pulsed with light patterns that showed deep concern. Representatives from every major species gathered. The chamber buzzed with conversation. Arguments, debates, fear, curiosity, opportunity. Everyone had opinions. No one agreed. The Thorian Federation proposed immediate restrictions. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to use force. They should be confined to Sol system, monitored constantly, prevented from further military expansion. Better to contain them now before they became unstoppable. Several species supported this view. Fear was a powerful motivator. The Mexan Collective suggested different approach. Humans showed remarkable tactical innovation, military prowess, strategic thinking. Perhaps they could solve other problems, handle other conflicts, deal with other threats that the Council could not address, use them as weapons. Just point them at problems and let them work. Control through contracts instead of confinement. Ambassador Tirek stood to speak. The Velron diplomat's voice shook with emotion. He described what humans actually did, how they risked everything for strangers, how they treated prisoners with dignity, how they rebuilt what war destroyed, how they sacrificed for others without expecting reward. These were not weapons. These were not monsters. These were heroes. Real heroes. The kind the galaxy forgot existed. His testimony changed some minds, made others more afraid. Species that valued logic saw humans as dangerous variables. Species that valued tradition saw humans as disruptive influences. But species that remembered what courage meant saw humans as allies, as friends, as something precious that should be protected rather than controlled. The debate continued for days. No consensus emerged. No decision was reached. The Council did what it always did. Formed committees, scheduled more meetings, issued statements of concern. Changed nothing. But everyone knew the galaxy was different now. Humanity forced that change, made everyone question comfortable assumptions, challenged convenient cowardice. While politicians talked, soldiers died. The human fleet suffered its first major loss. The Krenth launched coordinated counterattack. Dozens of ships. Overwhelming force. The destroyer EDS Relentless found itself cut off, surrounded, outnumbered. Captain Lee tried to break through, failed, tried to fight free, failed, sent final message to the fleet. Then the Relentless exploded. 300 humans died in seconds. Admiral Park held memorial service in space. Every ship in the fleet stopped operations. Every crew member attended. Park read every name, every single person who died, spoke about their service, their sacrifice, their meaning. It took 2 hours. He never rushed, never summarized. Every life deserved recognition. Every death demanded remembrance. That was the rule. That was the promise. No one was forgotten. Dr. Hyun Bae watched the Admiral's face during the ceremony, saw the weight he carried, the burden of command. Every decision meant lives. Every order risked deaths. Every strategy gambled with souls. He felt them all, remembered them all, would carry them forever. This was the cost humans paid. Not just physical sacrifice, emotional trauma, the price of caring deeply in a galaxy that forgot how. Lieutenant Sorakang pushed herself past exhaustion. The Indomitable took damage in every engagement. Systems failed constantly. Hull breaches occurred regularly. Power fluctuations threatened critical systems. She worked 48 hours straight, repairing, rebuilding, recalibrating. Her hands shook from fatigue. Her vision blurred from strain. Her body demanded rest. She ignored it. The crew depended on her. People trusted her. That was more important than sleep. Captain Mina Cho found Sora unconscious in the engine room. Collapsed at her station, still holding diagnostic tools, Mina ordered her to medical bay, forced her to rest, threatened her with confinement if she returned to work early. Sora protested weakly. Someone needed to monitor the reactors. Someone needed to maintain the shields. Someone needed to keep everyone alive. Mina's response was simple. Someone needed to take care of the person who took care of everyone else. This was humanity's strength, not individual capability. Mutual support. They pushed themselves beyond limits, but also pulled each other back from edges, worked until they broke, then helped each other heal, fought until they bled, then bound each other's wounds. It was beautiful. It was heartbreaking. It was completely human. Captain Ronak made his decision. He contacted Admiral Park directly. Encrypted channel. Private communication. Offered intelligence on Krenth positions. Detailed tactical information. Strategic assessments. Everything his mercenaries learned. In exchange, he wanted safe passage, protection for his company, permission to leave the war. Park offered more. Offered asylum. Fair payment. Chance to fight for actual purpose. The Hespen commander thought about it for 3 days. His company had contracts, obligations, reputation. Breaking agreement meant losing future work, meant being labeled unreliable, meant economic consequences. But continuing meant fighting against something that actually mattered, meant opposing people who represented what he once believed, meant being on the wrong side of history. Ronak accepted Park's offer, brought 50 mercenary ships to the human fleet, more importantly brought information, Krenth command codes, supply schedules, defensive positions, intelligence that would save lives, would end war faster, would mean fewer deaths on both sides. His company followed him, some reluctantly, some eagerly. All of them understanding this was different. This was important. This was choosing principles over profits. Other mercenary companies watched Ronak's choice, watched humans treat him fairly, pay him properly, welcome him genuinely. Some companies began abandoning Krenth contracts. Others increased their prices dramatically. The Krenth war machine depended on hired soldiers. That dependence became vulnerability. Human principles became weapons. Trust became tactics. Honor became strategy. The propaganda war intensified. Both sides broadcast constantly. Krenth showed human brutality, focused on combat footage, emphasized deathworlder violence, portrayed humans as monsters who would destroy everyone eventually. Fear was their message. Submission was their solution. Better to serve Krenth than die to humans. Humans showed different images. Velron civilians rescued from ruins. Krenth prisoners treated with dignity. Occupied cities being rebuilt. Children playing in parks that were battlefields days before. Marines sharing food with locals. Medics treating everyone regardless of species. The message was clear. Humans fought for people, protected everyone, cared about all life. One story spread across every communication network. Private Yoon, the medic from earlier battles. She died during an artillery attack. Shielded wounded Velron with her own body. Took the blast that would have killed 3 children. Her final words were recorded by her suit systems. Worth it. Got them out. 5 words that defined everything humanity represented. Personal sacrifice for others. Life given so others could live. The image of young human dying for alien children challenged every assumption. Deathworlders were supposed to be selfish, violent, dangerous, only interested in survival and conquest. One was none of those things. She was kind, brave, selfless, represented the best of what any species could be, and she was completely, perfectly human. Galactic public opinion shifted dramatically. Fear of humans remained. But respect grew stronger. Admiration developed. Young beings across dozens of species started following human military doctrine, studying human tactics, adopting human values. The humans were winning more than military victories. They were winning hearts, winning minds, winning the future. Admiral Park planned final offensive. Intelligence from Ronak revealed Vrask's strategy. The High Commander withdrew all forces to Krenth Prime, fortified his homeworld completely, made it impregnable. Believed humans would not attack civilian population centers, believed they would hesitate, would negotiate, would accept stalemate rather than cause massive casualties. Vrask was partially right. Humans would not bombard cities, would not kill civilians unnecessarily, would not win through genocide. But they would attack, would assault the fortifications, would break the defenses. Just do it carefully, precisely, with minimal collateral damage, with maximum effectiveness, the way only humans could. Captain Mina Cho analyzed the defenses. Overlapping shield generators, planetary defense platforms, orbital weapon stations, massive fleet presence, everything designed to stop conventional assault. Standard tactics would fail. Direct approach would mean disaster. So they would use neither. They would do something unexpected, something crazy, something completely human. The plan required simultaneous attack from 12 vectors, microjumps that appeared inside defensive perimeters, coordinated strikes against specific targets, perfect timing across entire fleet. Any mistake would be catastrophic. Any delay would be deadly. Any failure would mean annihilation. Park approved it immediately. The human fleet hit Krenth Prime from 12 directions simultaneously. Captain Mina Cho's Indomitable led the main assault through the heaviest defenses. Lieutenant Sora Kang pushed the engines past every safety limit. Power systems screamed in protest. Hull plates glowed red from friction. The ship shook violently, but it broke through, pierced the defensive line like a spear through armor. Behind it, the rest of the fleet followed. High Commander Vrask watched from his command center. 500 ships defended his world. Thousands of weapon platforms supported them. Orbital shields protected everything. It should be impossible to penetrate. But the humans did not care about impossible. They made their own possible, created their own reality, forced the universe to accept human determination. The space battle became chaos immediately. Human ships moved faster than Krenth targeting systems could track, changed vectors constantly, appeared in unexpected positions, used microjumps to avoid fire and reposition for attacks. Each ship knew exactly where others would be, trusted completely in shared tactics, functioned as one organism with many parts. The Krenth fought well, but they fought as individuals. That made all the difference. Ronok's mercenary ships provided support. His four-armed crew coordinated with human vessels perfectly. They learned human tactics quickly, adopted human values naturally, fought with human intensity. The Hespen commander discovered something important. Fighting for purpose felt different than fighting for profit. Meant more, hurt more, mattered more. He would never go back to being just a mercenary. This changed him, made him better. Admiral Park directed the entire battle from the Defiant. Holographic displays showed every ship, every weapon, every shield status, every tactical development. He processed information constantly, made decisions rapidly, adjusted strategies continuously. This was what he trained for, what he lived for. Not the fighting, the protecting, not the killing, the saving. War was terrible, but sometimes war was necessary. This was one of those times. The orbital shields began failing. Human weapons targeted generators precisely, avoided civilian structures carefully, minimized collateral damage religiously. Every shot calculated, every strike measured. They came to defeat enemies, not to destroy worlds, not to kill innocents, not to become the monsters others feared. They came to end war, to stop suffering, to make peace possible. Colonel Daehyun Kim watched the shields collapse from his drop pod. 5,000 Marines launched from orbit, fell toward the planet's surface like meteors. Krenth Point defense destroyed hundreds of pods. Kim watched his Marines die, watched the pods burn, watched friends disappear, but kept falling, kept focusing, kept leading. The mission demanded it. The objective required it. The people he protected deserved it. The surviving pods hit the ground hard. Emergency systems absorbed most impact. Most but not all. Kim's pod cracked on landing. His right arm broke from the shock. Cybernetic systems already damaged from previous battles. He emerged from the pod with one working arm and two working legs. Enough. More than enough. He had Marines to lead, enemies to fight, generators to destroy. The generator complex was fortress, walls 3 meters thick, automated defenses everywhere. Elite Krenth guards inside, designed to withstand orbital bombardment, built to resist conventional assault, perfect for defense. Except humans did not do conventional. They breached from underground, used shaped charges to tunnel through foundation, emerged inside defensive perimeter, attacked from position defenders never expected. The fighting was brutal. Close quarters. No room to maneuver. No space to retreat. Just violence. Just determination. Just will against will. Krenth guards were strong, well-trained, determined. Marines were stronger, better trained, more determined. They paid for every meter with blood, lost soldiers constantly, took wounds regularly, but kept advancing, kept pushing, kept winning. Kim lost his right arm to plasma fire, direct hit that melted through armor, severed cybernetic completely. Pain was incredible, overwhelming, disabling. He ignored it, switched weapons to left hand, kept fighting, kept leading, kept moving forward. Because stopping meant Marines died, hesitating meant mission failed. Surrendering meant war continued. None of those were acceptable, so he continued. 200 Marines entered the generator complex. 73 walked out. The rest died securing the objective, died protecting comrades, died completing mission. Kim read their names later, remembered their faces, carried their memories, added them to the list of people he failed to save, failed to protect, failed to bring home. The cost of command never got lighter, only heavier, only harder, only more painful. With shields down, Admiral Park opened direct communication to Vrask. The two commanders spoke for the first time, face-to-face through video, human and Krenth, enemy and enemy, but also warrior and warrior. Park offered terms: honorable surrender, war crimes trials under neutral council jurisdiction, fair treatment for soldiers, protection for civilians, end of hostilities. Beginning of peace. Vrask refused, offered single combat instead. The Krenth way, leader against leader, victor decides outcome. Park surprised him by accepting, but not physical combat, mental combat. Strategic challenge, test of minds not bodies. They would play traditional Krenth strategy game. Winner claimed victory, loser surrendered. Broadcast across the galaxy for everyone to witness. They met on neutral station, surrounded by observers, monitored by cameras. The game was ancient, complex, required tactical thinking and strategic planning. Vrask was master. Won tournaments, defeated champions, expected easy victory. Park played well, made interesting moves, created challenging positions, but ultimately lost. Deliberately, intentionally, strategically. Vrask realized what happened. The human gave him victory, provided honorable defeat, let him surrender without shame, without losing face, without destroying reputation. It was gift. It was kindness. It was completely unexpected. The High Commander stared at Park for a long moment, then spoke words he never imagined saying. We surrender. The war is over. You won, we lost. And somehow we were saved. The human response was simple. We did not come to defeat you. We came to stop the killing, stop the suffering, stop the war. Now we rebuild. Now we heal. Now we move forward together. You are not our enemies anymore. You are just people who made mistakes. Like everyone, like us. Welcome to peace. Krenth forces across occupied worlds received surrender orders. Most complied immediately. Some fought to death anyway. Honor demanded it. Pride required it. But most chose life, chose peace, chose the chance to go home. Human forces accepted surrenders carefully, treated prisoners properly, provided medical care, food, safety, everything promised, everything delivered. Trust established through actions, honor proven through deeds. The casualty reports arrived over following days. Human losses were significant. 2,847 dead, 4,521 wounded, ships destroyed, equipment lost, resources spent. The cost was terrible. But compared to alternatives, it was minimal. Compared to genocide, compared to extinction, compared to endless war. The cost was acceptable. The victory was complete. The mission was accomplished. Dr. Hyun Bae coordinated relief efforts on liberated Velron worlds. Human ships became cargo vessels. Marines became construction workers. Soldiers became builders. They stayed. They helped. They rebuilt. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Because the job was not finished until people were safe, until cities were rebuilt, until life was normal again. The Galactic Council convened to discuss humanity's role. Debate lasted months. Arguments continued endlessly. Fear versus respect. Caution versus opportunity. Control versus alliance. Finally, Speaker Maleth made decision. Earth would receive permanent council seat. Full membership. Equal voice. Recognition is major galactic power. The crystalline being addressed Park directly. You showed us what we forgot. Civilization is not measured by battles avoided, by conflicts ignored, by suffering tolerated. Civilization is measured by who we protect, who we save, who we help. You came when we would not, fought when we feared, sacrificed when we calculated costs. You reminded us what it means to be civilized, what it means to be good, what it means to matter. Thank you. Admiral Park stood before assembled species, representatives from 200 worlds, billions watching across galaxy. He could give great speech, make grand statements, claim moral superiority. Instead, he spoke simply, honestly, completely human. We came because you called for help. We will always answer that call. That is what we do. That is who we are. That is what Deathworlders mean. Not monsters, not weapons, just people who refuse to let others suffer alone. Nothing more. Nothing less. 20 species immediately requested defense agreements with Earth. 50 more expressed interest. The galaxy was changing. Human principles spread. Human values influenced. Human example inspired. Young beings across dozens of worlds studied human military doctrine, but more importantly studied human ethics, human compassion, human determination to do right thing regardless of cost. 3 years passed. The Velron Confederacy rebuilt completely, better than before, stronger than before. Human engineers helped design new defenses. Human advisors trained Velron security forces.